Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gayle Carson, that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. We have a very unusual guest today, and her name is Kristin Bauer Gross. She is a full-time presenter, model, talent, and commercial actor, and has been doing this since 2004. She's based in beautiful upstate New York, where my family is as well, and traveling wherever she needs to go for her profession. She's worked in the automotive industry as a presenter and a team lead, a manager, product specialist, lead generator, and more, including Subaru, Toyota, Cadillac, Lexus, Mazda, Chevy, and Ford. So she's got them all covered. She also travels as a speaker, MC, host, presenter, promotional model, and brand ambassador for trade shows and conventions and live events such as Pre-Med, LiveWorks, NASCAR, IMSA, etc. She's been printed in dozens of magazines and walked in 100+ fashion shows. She airs in many commercials, currently the Hurricane Spin Scrubber commercial, and she says she has a constant smile on her face and she's eager to help make any event and campaign a success. Well, welcome, Kristin. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me on.
And you have no idea that my first business were modeling schools, and I had the largest modeling, yes, and talent agency in Florida. We were SAG and after. We did all the movies and TV commercials that came. We grew it into a convention service company and just a lot of other things. But that was my business for 21 years, and I was president of the Modeling Association of America. And I hosted conventions in New York at the Waldorf Astoria, Montreal, Toronto, San Francisco, Long Beach, Dallas, Atlanta. I mean, it was really amazing. That was my life. People who know me now have not a clue that that was my life. So I understand everything you do and everything you are. And I started the Miss Model pageant when I was president of MAA and sold it to Eileen Ford, and ran the Miss Florida World pageant for 11 years with Larry King as my MC. So that whole business is part of my life. And you are also, aren't you Miss Central New York State?
Yes, for 2019.
Yeah, Mrs. I should say Mrs.
Mrs. Yes.
So, wow.
That is so crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it? So, of course, I'm going to ask you, what is your why? Why are you doing all of this, and how do you feel about it?
Well, my why, my overarching why is really that I want to help people find their courage to dream and to go after their goals. And I especially have a place in my heart for women, especially women over 30, because I think that as you grow up as a young girl and as a teenager and in your early 20s, people are constantly encouraging you to go after your dreams and goals. But once you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s and beyond, you know, you're sort of managing the ship of life. You're supposed to be encouraging other people, your children, your grandchildren. And I think it kind of falls away to go after your own dreams or to reinvent yourself and find a new dream. And I don't want that to get lost. So I really like encouraging and motivating women.
That's so funny because we have a whole network, the SOBradionetwork.com, and these are all women over 50 who do shows for women over 50. And we started that because there are so many people over 50, not only over 30, but over 50, who just feel like life is over. So it's so funny that you're saying that after 30, you even have that same feeling that, you know, life is kind of passing you by. So in your quest for all of these things, what was the biggest roadblock you encountered and how did you overcome it?
Well, I spent about 10 years in South Florida following my own passion to become a model, which I grew up in a rural town in upstate New York, where that is not a career that anyone goes after. And if you told anyone your dream, they would probably laugh at you. So I spent almost 10 years pursuing that until 2008. And my mother got very ill, the economy crashed. My longtime partner and boyfriend was in a life-threatening car accident. And so all of these three things happened, in about the span of a year. And my world unraveled, and I found myself back in upstate New York, caring for other people, and who I was and my own identity and my career all fell apart before my eyes. And as the economy got better, and very thankfully my mother got better, I realized that I was going to either have to reinvent myself or maybe crawl into a hole somewhere. And it was really daunting to reinvent yourself and to look at it as an adventure and not as terrifying.
That's really funny because I talk about one of my speech topics is reinventing ageism. And
Yes.
so because, when I went on the road as a speaker, which I did for the next 21 years, I spoke in 50 countries and 49 states.
Oh my
So our
God.
histories kind of parallel each other. And then you were in my neck of the woods when you were modeling. I've started talking about reinventing ageism because it is such an important topic now. But you say that you work as a model coach. And I know that, I had modeling classes where I taught people how to model, and I coached them and when they went for, their casting calls and so forth. But I never had really heard the term model coach, even though I know what coaching is and I've been a coach. So what exactly is a model coach and how did you get started on it?
It's such a crazy journey, and it's not one I really planned on. But so once I was back in rural upstate New York, and I came across a lot of people who had all these questions. They had questions about how to get started in modeling, a lot of mothers who were worried their daughters were going to fall into scams, people who were retiring and ready for a new adventure. And I'd give them a few tips and tricks and send them on their way. But as I kind of wanted to give people better feedback, suggestions, and educational materials, I realized there were not a lot of books on the topic. I had the unique experience that I had worked inside of 2 talent agencies, and the one that I was more recently the booking director in. I had really gotten to know the upstate market really well. And I just felt that giving people a few tips and tricks wasn't really helping them create success. And one day somebody told me, well, maybe you should stop health coaching and start doing model coaching. And I was like, I don't even think that's like a job. Well, maybe I could take on 1 or 2 people who had really wanted my help. So I just sort of started doing it to help a few people who wanted help. And as it became apparent that people really enjoyed my help around that topic, I stopped doing health coaching altogether, although I do feel it's integrated into my whole life and, what I share with folks about how to stay healthy. But that was sort of how I started model coaching. But as I progressed as a model coach, it became I became kind of interested in creating an online program because I saw so many people write to me on Facebook, on Instagram, who lived across the nation in other small rural markets all over who weren't in big cities and also had similar questions to people where I lived, how they could get started, how they could avoid scams and pitfalls, how to prepare for auditions, how to create self-tape videos. I decided, maybe I could offer an online program, and I set out to learn how to do that, which was fairly rigorous. And in the fall of 2019, I launched Action, which is my first online program. And I help small market models, actors learn, succeed, and connect.
That's fantastic. That is just great. You talked about scams, and of course, I had a reputation for unhinging all these people who were scammy. Certainly in the South Florida area, that's where I was located. So I was very active in that, and paid some price for that too, because when these people got nasty, they really got nasty. But I also think that there are a lot of misconceptions about the industry, and I'm wondering what you think the biggest ones are.
Oh, well, I think one of the biggest ones that I come across now is people think that the only people that make money as models are tall, thin, leggy 17-year-olds. And I don't think that a lot is interwoven into our culture. People don't know that there is a lot of work commercially, commercial models, commercial actors, and spokespeople, spokesmodels, that there is a big market for people of a variety of looks, sizes, shapes, talents, ethnicities, demographics, and ages. So I've had several people tell me, well, Kristin, now that you're approaching 40, when are you going to hang up your modeling hat? And I said, I don't know, maybe the day they put me in the ground.
Well, yeah, I can appreciate that, because I'm now not 5'2.5", but I was 5'2.5". But I did a lot of junior kinds of things, and I did TV, because that didn't matter, and print didn't matter all the time because, again, the commercial aspect of it. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities. And of course, if you can speak and if you're a good performer, there's a lot of opportunity in the TV commercial market, which of course I had been trained in, my degrees in TV and broadcasting and all of that. So it's very interesting how people can, there's certainly, if you're tall, gorgeous, and slim, your chances are a whole lot better than if you're 5'2.5". But are a lot of opportunities. And of course, now more than ever, because they're looking for everyday people. They're looking for people who look like everybody else. But, I found that the most successful of my models, and this was interesting because it really didn't matter whether they were 14 or 15 or 40. It was those that had a good head on their shoulders, that knew how to say no when no was appropriate, knew how to handle the business, knew how to talk to people. It wasn't just based on looks. It was their entire demeanor. And the ones that really were successful and kept their length of time in the industry longer were good business people. So what have you found to be the most successful things that models should do?
I think that people who can develop a thick skin and persevere and not give up in the face of challenges and obstacles, and that can stay motivated consistently over time and consistently take steps and actions, as well as continuing to build skills. So if someone starts new in the industry, maybe they aren't comfortable speaking on camera, they don't have a teleprompter proficiency, they aren't used to memorizing scripts, or are very nervous about walking into an audition room. But if over time they can hone a lot of these skills and also think about what things they enjoy that they could develop as well. If maybe they enjoy, their mother was German, and so they do speak some German, they could improve upon that, and then that could become a skill when a client's looking for someone bilingual. I think that there are a lot of more opportunities the more skills you have.
So tell people what a typical day looks like for you, because we haven't interviewed a lot of model coaches or spokespeople. So tell our listeners what an average day is like for you, if there is one, because I know in the industry it's not really average. Every day can be different, but give us a typical day.
Right. I think that part of the exciting part to me is that every day is different. Every day I get to meet new people and go to new places. And so each day is like an adventure. Usually I get up fairly early, between 5 and 6:30, and I like to exercise in the morning when I'm able to and check my emails and check in on social media. And then it could vary drastically from there. If I'm not on a booking and I don't have any auditions that day, then I may be at home meeting with my one-on-one clients in person or over Zoom, or teaching my action program, which is also taught virtually over Zoom. And at the moment, I'm here in Washington, D.C. I travel for some major automotive companies as a spokeswoman, and I would fly in, check into my hotel, and then have a shift each day for that automaker to be on their floor. I'm either on a microphone presenting, or I'm one-on-one sharing and educating consumers on the auto show floor, or at car reveals or special automotive events. And that's something I'll be doing today. So after we wrap our podcast call today, I'll get into my auto show wardrobe that is provided for me and head over to the convention center.
So what would you say someone who wants to go into this career should study? I know you've got a background in health and in psychology. So were those helpful for you, or do you think people should study something else?
I usually suggest that everyone should pursue whatever really interests them. I think that people are going to find success most if they can stay excited and passionate about whatever they're working on. But I guess if you know from a young age that this is what you want to do, then you could go to school for a topic like you did, TV and film. Certainly taking public speaking classes would be excellent. But sometimes taking advice from other people can kind of get you off of your own radar. And you really need to listen to yourself and where you feel that you're called, because getting a fancy degree in something that doesn't interest you just because other people told you, you'd be really good at it and this is what you should do, I think can be challenging. I knew since I was about 14 that I was really interested in being a model and talent. My first agent said, "You must go to college." And I said, okay. And I was very fascinated by human behavior, psychology, the way we communicate with one another and interact. And I think that was really what drove me to decide on psychology, which helps me in everyday life, whether I'm working with automotive companies or other brands, or if I'm working one-on-one or with groups or speaking. I think that psychology has been a great background for me.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I know that where I went to school, which was Emerson College in Boston, I had to do what was equivalent to 17 public appearances a week, because between my speech classes and the broadcasting classes, even in English, we had to be able to stand up and do the parts of the different characters. And I mean, it just went on and on and on. And I was horrible. And so I thought, well, this is not the way to be successful. So I asked my grandmother to buy me a tape recorder, which was in those days reel to reel. And she did. And I practiced 3 hours every night to be able to speak well. And I went from D's to straight A's. So that was good. And of course, it has been my life support ever since, because everything I do requires me to speak. But isn't it interesting how different things take you on different paths? And I think that's a part of it. And yes, you have to be able to speak when you're going on an interview for any kind of a job, but especially for this, and especially if you want to be a spokesperson. But I have a question for you. What about the exclusivity? Because you work for several different automakers. Do they care that you have been a spokesperson for another type of car?
Well, you can only work on an auto show team for one brand at a time. So you usually sign a contract. But I've been an automotive has been my specialty for about 15 years. So over that time frame, I've worked for numerous brands. But on any given model year, you can only represent one brand on the auto show floor. So some people will work for one brand and feel like it's not a fit for them, and they might try switching to a different brand. So I think it really varies by the person and their situation, so that you can end up feeling like your values and your interests sort of are matched up with the brand you're working for.
Yeah, I can see where it would be, one brand at a time, but you have worked for a lot of different brands. But, Kristin has a wonderful gift for those of you that are interested in this. And that is, she has, I think it must be a PDF, 10 things I wish someone told me when I first started modeling. And what is the best way that they can get that, Kristin?
They can stop by my website, which is KristinB.com, Kristin with a K and all I's, KristinB.com. And you can pretty much on any page of my website get that sent directly to you. And it's all the things that I wish somebody had shared with me when I was first getting started.
Yeah, that is really, really very valuable. So if there's anybody out there who thinks, hey, I'd really like to understand this modeling gig, or maybe you have kids who are interested in becoming models, this would be a wonderful thing, because I know that it would be very helpful if you had at least some information and are aware of some things, because when someone comes up and says your child or you should be a model, and they're going to take pictures of you, which are not cheap, by the way, and there's just a bunch of stuff that you need to know, and you want to make sure that you're dealing with a legitimate agency, and that's a key. So if you go to KristinB.com, KristinB as in boy.com, and look for 10 things I wish someone told me when I first started modeling, that's a free gift that Kristin has for you. So what is the best way that people could keep up with you after this podcast? Is it to go to your website, or is it to take one of your programs? What do you think?
Well, I'm very active on Instagram, and I have an Instagram TV show called Model Tips. Anyone who's interested in modeling as well, I think that could be really valuable for them. I'd love to have them come check me out on Instagram. I am also on Facebook with the same handle, at Kristin Bauer Gross, which is my name. Bauer Gross is BAUERGROSS, at Kristin Bauer Gross. And my website is always a great resource where you could join my newsletter or read more about my programs offerings. I am always excited for people to join my action program, and it's specifically geared towards small market models, actors, because I think there are unique challenges for people who live in rural markets, small towns, small cities, that's very different from people who live in medium-sized cities or major markets. And so I try to really help people who live in small places make the most of where they live, and or make a plan to move somewhere to a bigger market, as well as to just dream big and wild from your small town.
Yeah, I think that Kristin is giving you some really great advice, and it's true. I mean, it's a totally different arena if you are in a small town versus a large town. I can tell you, because I grew up in a small town, and then I had my agency in a big town. In fact, Miami, South Florida, Miami, back in this was the 60s and 70s, was one of the top three markets. It was New York, LA and Miami. Those are the markets. So it's gotten a little bigger since then, but basically those markets really haven't changed that much. So if you want to get a hold of Kristin, if you want to find out more about her, go to her website, which is Kristin, KRISTINB.com. Go there, you'll find her gift, 10 Things I Wish Someone Told Me When I First Started Modeling. And you can find out about her online course. You may decide that's what you want to take. And that's it, unless you'd like to leave us with your favorite quote. What's your favorite quote, Kristin?
Oh, my favorite quote is from my longtime teacher and mentor, Sean McLeod. He says, "You are only as successful as the number of people you bring with you." And essentially what he means by this is that if you make it to the top and you didn't help everyone else, don't consider yourself a success. So I think it's really important that all of us feel a sense of community and helping one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna sign off now, but have a wonderful convention there in Washington, D.C. And thank you so much for being with us today. And we'll look forward to your great success.
Hi, this is Dr. Gayle, and I wanted you to know I have a whole bunch of other things to offer you. If you go to spunkyoldbroad.com, you will see an array of SOB stuff for sale and all our latest products and additions. If you're interested in getting on TV, I have a brand new course, Get on TV. And if you want to start your own business, you'll want my SOB Guide to Business Success. I know you'll love them all. I guarantee it.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at GayleCarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.